Good morning, sir.
Yeah,
Morning.
good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. So all of you on your videos. All. How many have attended the class? 23 out of 32. Ah, still others? Vivek? Collins?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, on your video. So I would like to see your faces because this is the first time I'm coming to your class. Yeah. Okay. So good morning all. So how is the vacation
Good morning,
now?
sir.
All of you enjoyed your vacation? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So instead of me getting into the paper directly, so what is your expectation on this paper? Anyone in the class? Anyway, I'll take the introduction class. But anyone? No. You don't have any expectations that you are going to learn something in this area, or how do you enhance your mathematics further? Whatever you learned in the previous semester. Do you have any of those expectations?
Yes, sir.
Now, what is that then? Who said it is? Balaji?
Sir, this is Deepak, sir.
Yeah, Deepak.
Sir, just curious to know what's concepts of genomics and proteomics.
That's all? Not more than that?
Because
Sir,
just,
Yes?
just because we didn't have anything more related to bioinformatics this last 2 years.
Okay. Okay then. So I'll just give you some highlights. What you're going to learn as per your syllabus in each unit. What are the objectives of the course, and what are your outcomes of the course? What you will be learning. Okay. So I'll try to highlight only those aspects for today. Then we'll see the next topic in the next class. Okay. So we'll start with that. So I'll share the screen now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So so just as an introduction to the concepts of genomics and proteomics. Okay. So you might have already know that the paper title and was the paper code. Okay, it's SBC 383, and the paper title is Concepts of Genomics and Proteomics. Okay, So what I'm going to do deal in this lecture is nothing but, so we'll have a brief introduction what is the concept of genomics and proteomics, and the objective of the session or lecture, then what are the course details, then what are the course objectives and what are the course outcomes, what you have for this paper, and the books which are recommended for referring. So one is main book and the other one you can use them as recommended book. Okay. So what is actually genomics and proteomics here? So broadly, I think people have gone through the last semester paper of computational biology, isn't it? So we have learned about how you try to analyze the data, organize the data, or understand the biological data, whatever you have. Okay, so bioinformatics is nothing but we try to understand what is actually uh, data and how we can visualize and analyze and understand. So if you can go through these three steps, that is, when you have a data with you, you should understand first of all how to visualize the data, or how to uh, organize the data, and how to analyze the data. When you're doing all these three integrated and in a repeated manner, then you understand something, what is actually the meaning of the data. Because whatever data we generate in the laboratory from the experiments in biology, okay, that data is very huge here, and huge data, if you want to make sense of this huge data, we should go through that data. So first what we do is, after getting the data, you try to visualize the data first. Okay, then you see what is the meaning of that. So first you generate the data, then you try to arrange the data, because whatever data you have, that need not be in an order. So if you want to understand it, first you have to arrange that. So you arrange that data, and for that only we have statistical methods. So whatever statistical methods we have, they actually help us in arranging the data. So once you arrange the data, so you have to do something to make sense of that. So if you want to make sense of that, you use some bioinformatics tools, nothing but tools which I've already seen in the last semester, few tools which are there. Okay, so these bioinformatics tools will help you to analyze the data, whatever you generated and arranged. And once this is done, the next step is you have to make sense of the data. So whatever data is there, if you don't make any sense, that means you have some problem with that. So if you are not able to make sense, there are two options. Either we are not able to understand what is the data there, or maybe some concept is which is beyond our thinking. Okay, so there what we do is we try to make sense of the data, and ultimately when it wants to make sense of the data, whatever people say, that is, if this data is there, this can happen, and this is how it is arranged. So that is nothing but your visualization. So when someone says that this is the data, you try to think, you have an image in front of you that, okay, if this is the data, this is what happens. So that is nothing but visualization. So right from generating the data in the lab to visualization is what bioinformatics have. Okay, and in bioinformatics, there are several phases again, which you can see here. I think all of you are aware of Mendel.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes,
All of you
sir.
are aware of Mendel.
Yes,
So,
sir.
Sir.
what were the Mendel postulates or Mendel's theory? He has proposed 2 to 3 different aspects in them. What are they? Anyone?
Sir, principle of paid factors, principle of dominance.
Yeah, he has mainly proposed 2 theories, you can say. Anyone can say what's the first one, according to Mendel? Yeah, Balaji, what I said is correct, but that is not according to Mendel.
The principle of inheritance.
Principle of
Inheritance.
inheritance. Okay. So, what did he say according to principle of inheritance? Yes. Okay. What are the other things? Anyone? As Balaji said, something related to dominance and recessive. Okay. And what is the other thing?
Law of segregation, sir.
Law of segregation. Okay, so these are the things which are proposed by Mendel. But in them, what's the most important thing here is what you have to understand here is that according to him, that there is a genotype, and that genotype is actually responsible for a phenotype. So what is a genotype? What according to him, whatever characters which are there and which are inherited, okay, and they are known as genotype, and he labeled them as phenotype. Now, what is a phenotype? Whatever gene is there is expressing a character that is actually visualized by us externally, and that is nothing but a phenotype. Okay, so this is what Mendel has proposed. We have a genotype and we get a phenotype, isn't it? Now, Mendel has given this as an abstract thing, that genotype to phenotype concept. Now, that genotype to phenotype has evolved into a large number of areas, and now we see that genotype to phenotype, there are several branches of this. Now, whatever genotype is there, that genotype which you call now as genome, okay, and that phenotype, what Mendel referred, now we call it as phenome. So now, from genome to phenome, there are subsections again. Okay, the first one what we know is already we have a genetic blueprint which is there. According to Mendel, we can say that genetic blueprint will decode whatever information we have, and that will give a character. So now what I said is all the characters which are there in an individual, they are known as genes. Okay, and the group of genes, nothing but gene O. Okay, this is what now the present condition of genotype. The version of genotype is nothing but the genome. So after genome, what is the next level of information? Anyone? What happens to a gene? What happens to a gene? So generally what we said, according to Mendel, a gene is expressing itself, a character is expressing itself. Okay. Now, what is that character? A gene is expressing in a form of a RNA, isn't it? Gene is expressing in the form of a RNA. Now, there are different types of RNAs, and the group of RNAs, whatever which are expressing there, they are known as transcripts, and the group of the transcripts are known as transcriptome. Okay, and the group of transcripts are known as transcriptome. So we have genome and the expression of genes, nothing but transcriptome. Okay, now why do we require transcriptome? So what is the difference between a gene and a transcript? Okay, so having a gene does not mean that a character can be expressed or not, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that character should be expressed. Like at this situation, you are on the class. So presence in the class means it does not indicate that you're 100% listening to the class. Your presence is presence. Like it's the same thing. The gene is gene. It is not in the class. I mean, it is not there. It's not expressing itself. The same way, the gene should express. Then only it is doing some function. So the gene is expressing and doing a function means that is if you're in a class and listening. So that is your whatever purpose you're on. So gene's purpose is solved if it is expressed. So that's why we started learning and understanding about transcripts and transcriptome. Okay. So now we have understood about transcriptome. So after genome, we have next level which is known as transcriptome. Now, okay. So if a transcript is present, what is happening to mRNA? Because that is the one which is expressed. What is happening to mRNA? mRNA will try to change itself into a protein, isn't it? So normally in any books when you refer, we say that gene is expressing itself to a protein. They never talk about the RNA because we think RNA is just an intermediate molecule to give you an expression form that is nothing but protein. So we have a gene which is expressing itself in the form of a RNA, and that RNA is actually expressed in the form of a protein. And you people already knew what is a protein. So protein is expressed form of your DNA. So now all the proteins which are expressed from those genes, they are known as proteome. Okay, so now we have seen what is a gene, what is genome, what is transcript, and what is transcriptome, what is protein, and what is proteome. Okay, and simple thing version is study of genome is nothing but genomics, study of transcriptome is nothing but transcriptomics, study of proteome is nothing but proteomics. Okay, now we have a protein. Now what is the fate of that protein? Can anyone tell what is the fate of the protein?
Sir, function, sir.
Okay, how does it function? It should function because the ultimate function of the gene is also to do something. That's function. Now how does it function?
Sir, depending upon what protein it is. If it's an enzyme, then it will go for protein folding and then it will work as an enzyme.
Yes. So that means a protein can modify itself. Okay. So that is what do you mean by your? So it can change itself. So that is what Deepak has said. So according to him, so a protein when it's expressed, it can change. So this is what happens in the nature. A protein can either combine with another protein, or a protein can degrade itself into another protein, smaller protein. Now, what do you call this protein combining with another protein, giving rise to a new protein, or protein degrading itself? Nothing. So, remove that protein. Now, come to a normal thing. What do you call when a molecule is actually breaking into a smaller molecule? Or what do you call when a molecule is actually synthesizing itself into a larger molecule? What do you call this whole process?
Metabolism and anabolism.
Metabolism, sir.
Yeah, it is metabolism. It is trying to change itself, metabolize. Okay. Now, what do you call when something is trying to synthesize itself into higher organic molecule, larger organic molecules? And what do you call?
Anabolism, sir.
What is that?
Anabolism.
What is the opposite of that?
Catabolism.
Metabolism.
Okay. So now we have this molecule is actually changing its state, that is either combining with another one to form a larger molecule, or it's degrading itself into a smaller molecule, and that we call them as metabolites. Now all these proteins, they change their condition, that is either they group into larger molecules or come down into smaller molecules, break down. So metabolism and catabolism happen enter into a cycle which is known as metabolic cycle. And this is how your proteins are connected to your metabolic pathways. Okay? So now we have metabolites. And all the metabolites, when they are expressed in a group, they are known as metabolome. And the study of this metabolome is nothing but metabolomics. Okay? Now we know that we have a genome. Expression of the genome is giving a transcriptome. Transcriptome is expressing itself into a proteome, and proteome is metabolizing itself into a metabolome. And this metabolome is actually now linked together. Okay, so now we have one metabolite. So the metabolites will not just remain like that. So we know that in our body there is a metabolic cycle which is happening. So that means one metabolite should interact with another metabolite or another molecule, any other molecule. Because in body we know that a DNA will interact with a protein, or a protein will interact with another protein, okay? Or a metabolite may interact with. So what is this? A molecule is actually interacting with another molecule. And what is this whole thing which is known as, generally we call this a metabolic cycle. And now we are calling this a interaction. Okay, so one molecule is interacting with another molecule. One biological molecule can interact with another biological molecule, and that is actually known as interacting. Okay, interaction of metabolites, and in short, in biochemistry, we try to call them as metabolic cycles. Okay, or pathways, and then this is actually known as interaction between molecules, and this whole interactions group is known as interactome. Okay, interactome. And study of all these interactions is known as interactomics. Okay. Now, once this interaction has happened, the final destiny of the DNA has arrived or achieved, you can say, and that is nothing but your phenotype. Okay, that is nothing but your phenotype. And that phenotype is nothing but the expression of a character which a gene is designated finally. A gene has been designated for an expression, and that designation is formed in the form of a phenotype. And that phenotype is nothing but the morphological form of the gene, whatever you see the externally. And this is what we call as a phenotype. And the group of phenotypic characters are known as phenome. And the study of this, all these phenomes is known as phenomics. Okay, so now you can understand what has happened. So Mendel has proposed an idea. What is that? There is a genotype and we get a phenotype. That is what he has said. There is a gene which is responsible for green color. There is a gene which is responsible for yellow color. There is a gene which is responsible for tall. Okay, and there is a gene which is responsible for short. So this is what Mendel has said. So gene versus phenotype, external character, tall, short, green, yellow. Now we have seen that. So what has happened in between? Between genotype to phenotype, these are the things what we understood at this moment. So whatever Mendel has said, he said that okay, there is a genotype and we get a phenotype. But to understand that what is happening between genotype to phenotype, it took these many years for us. Okay, and now all these are the advanced areas of. It is not bioinformatics only; it's biology, in general biology. Okay, so each one is a separate area now we call it. Because if you want to study transcriptomics, it's a different discipline. If you want to study phenomics, it's a different discipline. Okay, but if you want to understand the biology of an organism, you should try to understand right from genomics to phenomics. And this is what Mendel has said in brief, according to his knowledge. And this is what the knowledge what we have at this moment. Okay, so there is a genotype and we'll get a phenotype. So now I think you have understood what is the importance of learning genomics and proteomics. Okay, so if you can understand genomics and if you can understand phenomics, then you have an idea what all you get from phenomics, or what is the link between genomics, phenomics, and genomics, proteomics, and phenomics. So this is what you can understand. Okay, so this is the most important aspect why you should understand genomics and proteomics, because if you want to understand whatever physical characters we have externally which are expressing, we should understand what are the genes which are responsible or what are the proteins which are responsible. Okay, so one example I'll tell. So can anyone just give a wild guess how many number of genes are actually required for expressing into your hair, or how many number of genes are identified worldwide for all the hair characters which we have till now? Any rough guess?
No, sir. No idea.
It's approximately 6,000 genes which are identified just for that hair what we are having. Okay, and those 6,000 genes, combinations, they'll give you whatever hair you have. Whatever hair, that means color, length, that straightness or curliness, anything. So these 6,000 genes which are present in us, they're responsible. Likewise, people started identifying all the characters linking to the group of genes, because now we know that not any character is coded by single gene. Characters are coded by a group of genes. So this is the next important point what you have to understand. That means no single character is coded by a single gene, and a character is actually coded by a group of genes. And genomics is nothing but studying the group of genes, isn't it? So genome is nothing but group of genes. So if you're trying to study a group of genes for a particular character, and that is nothing but genomics. And so this is the second most important point why we are studying genomics, because we can't get information if you want to understand what is a genome. You have to get all the information related to all the group of genes, and then only we can understand how they are related to a gene or how they are related to a phenotype. Okay, so this gives an idea how a character is actually coded by a group of genes. Okay, so this is the second most important character or importance of genomics. Okay, so I'll ask you two questions now, and with these two questions we'll take a break, and then after break I would like to ask you the questions in general. Okay, so whomever asks, just tell me what is the answer for that. Now the first question is, what are the number of bases in human genome?
4.
What are the number? Don't tell the answer now. We'll take a 5 minutes break. Within that break, we'll just search and tell me after we resume the break. First question. And second question is, what are the number of genes and proteins in a human? Clear?
Repeat.
First question is, what are the number of bases in a human? Second question is, what are the number of genes and proteins in a human? Okay, our time is 32, we'll resume at 38. Okay, so we'll take a short break and then we'll come back. Clear? Okay then. Okay, welcome back all. Okay, so now, so I've asked you a question there. First question. What are the number of bases in a human genome?
Nearly 3 billion, sir.
3
Billion.
billion bases. Okay, so that's the first answer for that. 3 billion bases are there in a human genome. Now the second question, how many number of genes or proteins are present in a human?
So genes are around 20 to 25,000 and proteins are from 80 to 4 lakh. 80,000 to 4 lakh.
50,000 to 4 lakh. Okay, I'll correct it. Genes are nearly 33,000. Okay, and proteins are from 90 to 1,20,000. Those are according to human proteome database. Okay, those are according to human proteome database. Others are just a reference, but they're not particular. Okay, these are the genes which are available till date. That is 33,000 genes for human, and nearly 90 to 1,20,000 proteins were identified according to human proteome database. Clear? So these are the statistics of human genome and proteome. Okay, so with this information, I think this brief information will give you what is our idea and what is important with us. Study genomics and proteomics. Okay, so now we'll see. I'll share the screen and we'll see. Okay, so now what is genomics here? So genomics actually, genomics and proteomics is actually a fast-growing field of developing large data as a whole for particular organism. Okay, they have the large data for a particular organism, and especially for a particular condition. So here we have a data, large data for a particular organism for a particular condition, and it helps us in understanding the complex conditions in many times. Okay, so this is what is genomics and proteomics. So as I said, we have a now I said that there is a there are 6,000 genes which are coding for hair. So how did they come? And among them, here again we have certain characters like color, length, then texture, all these things. So genomics and proteomics as gave the information that these number of genes are actually present, a large data for a particular organism, for a particular condition. Okay, so condition here for hair. These are the data which is responsible. And complex condition. In what complex condition? That is, a person who is having a gray color hair or a blonde hair, which is curly or straightened. That is a complex condition. What are the larger data sets which are responsible for that? So this is what genomics and proteomics will try to tell us. Okay, so what does it give us? So the knowledge of genomics and proteomics will help us in narrowing down the experimental procedures to achieve reliable results faster and validating them. So this is what we achieve with the knowledge of genomics and proteomics. So in lab, with the whatever data you obtain from the database, you can experimentally prove and see that what is actually that. Okay, so we have a reliable results and a procedure which is very fast and which can be validated. So this is what we have with the knowledge of genomics and proteomics. Okay, so the objective for this session is just to understand the course objectives and course outcomes of concepts of genomics and proteomics. So these are the course features. So what is the program here? Is your program is biochemistry, microbiology, and mathematics, and it's your fifth semester, isn't it? So paper title is Concepts of Genomics and Proteomics, and paper code is SPC383. And the thing is, we have 4 hours per week, and then semester exams for 60 marks. It is for 4 credits, and the sessionals, that is the internal mark, is for 40. Okay, so these are the course details. So why I'm displaying this is because while you're writing your exam on paper, most of you people are not writing these details. What is the paper you don't know? Which semester also you're not writing it properly? Paper code, most of you are writing paper code, interchangeable paper code. That means you're not writing the exact paper code. So that is why I'm trying to display you. These are the course details. Okay. Now, what are the objectives of this paper? What you're trying to say? So the first objective of the paper is nothing but to acquire knowledge on genome sequencing strategies and methods of assembly. So the first objective is we try to understand what are the genome sequencing strategies which are there to get the genome. Whatever human genome we said that is the human genome size is nearly 3 billion bases. So how did you get the 3 billion bases? So there is something which is known as genome sequencing. So now we learn what are the genome sequencing strategies, and after sequencing them, we try to assemble them, and whatever sequence you read, that is based on the methods. So we have different genome sequencing strategies and methods. So the first objective is to acquire the knowledge on genome sequencing strategies and methods of assembly. Second objective here is to acquire knowledge on concept, tools, and databases of comparative genomes. Okay, so whatever genome we have, if we have it, okay, it's fine. We have a genome, we have sequenced it, and we have assembled it. Now, what do you do the next step? So once you assemble the genome, we try to compare the genome with this genome with the other genomes, isn't it? Because the first question what we have is how similar we are, all of us. I mean, all humans, how similar we have. So that question was actually solved using this comparative genomics principle. And based on the comparative genomics principle, whatever question, the answer what we have at this moment is something like we humans are similar by 99.9%. And we have a difference of 0.1%. Okay, so this is what we understood. So if you want to understand the same way, what is the difference between us, or what is the difference between we and monkeys, or what is the difference between we and other animals, or what is the difference between the organisms which are present in nature? If you want to understand that, we should know how to compare our genome or the target genome with other genomes, and then you can understand what is the difference. Okay, so the second objective is to acquire the knowledge on concept, tools, and databases of comparative genomics. Now, once you know how similar or how different we are, and once we have the genome in our hand, the next thing what you have to do is, so you find that there is a difference, fragment difference in some places here and there. Okay, but how do you understand what is the fragment and what does the fragment do in general? So if you want to understand that, first of all, we should identify what are the different reasons of a genome sequence, okay, and what are the functions of that genome regions. Okay, so the third objective is nothing but to identify different reasons of a genome sequence with predicting the functions using different methods. This is our third objective. Okay, so to understand the different reasons of a genome and also to predict their functions using different methods. So this is our third objective. Okay, and fourth one is, you know, that genome ultimately expresses itself and gives you the proteome. So we should have different strategies and methods which are there to identify or the expressive proteins which are there. Okay, so we should have different strategies to separate the protein, to quantify the protein, okay, at a time. Now, once you have proteins in a hand, then how do you understand that what is happening? So we can use different protein-protein interactions or protein-DNA interactions to study this. So if we can understand the principle, then ultimately we can do this study. Okay. So the fifth objective is nothing but to understand different principles of protein DNA interactions. Okay, protein and DNA interactions. So with these objectives, if you try to understand these objectives, what are the outcomes we have? Okay, so now we'll see what are those outcomes we have. So first course outcome is we try to understand the concept of genomics and proteomics, and this will help us in solving different biological problems. So whatever biological problems we have, we can solve them. For example, if you're interested in identifying, because these days studies of space of identifying making the people adaptable to the space conditions. So if you want to understand that, then you should try to solve. I mean, you should know what are the set of genes or what are the set of proteins which are responsible, which can help you in adapting to a certain climate. That you can. So that is a biological problem. So genomics and proteomics can help us in, solve these type of biological problems. Not only this, whatever biological problem you have, you can use genomics and proteomics and try to go in a structural and systematic manner, and you can solve the problem. Okay. So the first course outcome after you finish this course is you can have a series of genomics and proteomics tools which will help you in solving biological problems. That's the first outcome. Okay. Then the second thing is to know what sequencing method you have to apply for a particular sample and what sequencing method you have to apply for assembling the genome. So this is what we understand, because you can't follow the same methodology for sequencing and the same methodology for assembly. Based on the requirement, based on the sample, you do it. Okay. So if your sequence is already available for a particular organism, then you follow a different thing that we call it as a reference sequencing, that is resequencing, because you're doing it for the second time. It's known as resequencing. But if you're doing it for the first time, it's called as de novo sequencing. Okay. In the same way, assembly also. If you're doing it for the first time, we call de novo assembly. And if you're doing it for the second time, because already the genome is assembled and you have a genome assembly, then you call it as reference assembly. Okay. So based on your requirement and the sample, you try to change either de novo assembly or reassembly or de novo sequencing or resequencing. This is what you do. So based on your thing. And for each of these, for plant, you have to follow one thing. For animal, you have to follow one thing. For bacteria, we have one methodology. Okay, that is what you have. So, good strategies for sequencing and assembly. This is what you have to understand, and you understand that after you complete it. And your third outcome is something that you know how to predict, how to identify, how to annotate different sequences in the genome which are assembled. Okay, so we assemble the genome. So if you don't know how to identify, then that will be a problem. If you don't know how to predict that gene or protein or transcript, then you will be a problem. If you don't know how to annotate. Okay, so here we have three different aspects: identify, predict, and annotate. Now, what do you mean by identification? What do you mean by prediction? And what do you mean by annotation? So identify means you try to see what is actually that part. And prediction means you try to predict based on certain methods. What is that part? And annotation is nothing but after you identify and predict, you try to label them. Okay? So this sequence is actually so and so. So once you label only, that's possible. So identify, predict, and annotate different sequences in your genome assembly. Okay, in your genome assembly. That is your third outcome. Now, what is the fourth outcome here? So, whenever you have a gene which you say that this is a gene product, nothing but a protein. So, we should try to understand the relationship between the sequence, structure, and function. That means we have a protein sequence. Okay, that protein sequence will give you a structure, and the structure will actually give you a function. And these are actually based on different motifs and domains. So basically, you can understand what is the sequence, what is the structure, and what is the function. Then you can easily understand most of the aspects of the proteins. Okay, and this in short is known as SSR. Okay, SSFR. sequence, structure, functional relationship of a protein. So the fourth outcome is that. And the last thing is we try to understand how the protein is being expressed. What are the different modifications that are happening in a protein? We know this. How a protein will interact with another protein, or how a protein will interact with another DNA. Okay, and we do all these things to solve biological problems. Okay, and these are the different aspects. So, what are the different things here? How a protein is expressing. What are the post-translation modifications? How a protein is interacting with another protein, or how a protein is interacting with the DNA. And this is the fifth course outcome, CO5. So these are the course outcomes what we have. Okay, and course objectives. And coming here, the best book which I recommend here is Essential Mathematics, which is available in the library. You can take this as a textbook, and these are the other things as a your reference books. Okay, your reference books. So with this, I think I gave you an idea what is actually genomics and proteomics, and what are the objectives of this course, and what are the outcomes of this course, and the course details. Okay, so I hope you got some general idea what is. Okay, and what are the concepts of genomics and proteomics we're trying to learn in this semester. Okay, so any doubts you have with whatever I told you in this class? Yes?
Okay.
So no doubts? I hope as first class there will be no doubts. Okay, so then assuming that you have no doubts, I'll end the class here and we'll meet in the next class. Okay? Okay then.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you
you, sir.
and have a nice day.
Yes, sir.